What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I just finished watching the final episode of House of the Dragon. Now, for those of you who don't know, my reaction is under my YouTube memberships. If you want to see my reaction, you're going to have to become a member. I have 2 levels over there. Level 1 is for $2.99, and you're going to get priority replies from me, special polls, and live streams. Those live streams are going to start very, very soon. Level 2 is for $4.99, and you're going to get everything that level 1 has, plus you're going to get all of my reactions to all of the shows that I watch, any movies, and all of my uncut try not to laughs. So go over there and check that out. Oh my gosh. Now, so where do I begin? Where do I begin? You know, somebody told me that this episode was going to make me mad because the last episode pissed me off. It really, really did. I will say that this episode was probably the only episode that really had me emotional. I was very emotional during this episode. There was, I will say at the end, it pissed me off. Really, really pissed me off. So, obviously, we know that the last episode that we saw, the king obviously has passed away. Everything was supposed to go to Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra was supposed to become the queen. She is the heir of the throne. And of course, unbeknownst to her, nobody even told her that her father passed until 2 days later in this episode. So the queen went behind her back, lied, and said that it was the king's last wish for his own son to be king of the throne. And that was a straight up lie. And homegirl even lied to her own father. So of course her father's gonna ride for her. That's what her father wanted, of course. And so in this episode we see that the cousin, I forget her name. I don't hear her name enough to remember it, or there's so many. But anyway, the one that's the Valerian. So Targaryen? No. Anyway, the cousin. She went and finally told Rhaenyra that her father had passed away. And mind you, Rhaenyra's pregnant. So at this point, we see that she's having stomach pains and they're getting more frequent. And at one point, you see the cousin just is letting her know, like, look, I'm just letting you know they're going to come for you. They're going to come for your kids. They crowned, what's his name, as king in front of the masses. So just giving you a heads up. So here comes Damien. Well, basically, we need to start a war. So the cousin's like, well, that's not my war to start. But she's like, I'm down, basically, if y'all want to go to war. So as she's leaving, like, you see Rhaenyra in pain, and all of a sudden she goes under her dress and she sees blood, and I immediately was like, no, 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 no. So, moving right along, now she's in labor. At one point she calls her 2 sons to come over to let them know, like, nothing happens without my say so. Meanwhile, Damien is definitely planning a war with everybody involved. And the boy comes in and he tells Damien, you are not to do anything until, basically the queen says so. And Damien's just like, yeah, all right. So he was like, come with me. I'm going to show you what loyalty looks like. And so he confronted the 2 people, the 2 guards that were actually witness to what happened with the queen's son and reigning him king supreme. And he was like, all right, you got 2 choices. Basically, what you gonna do? So then later on, we see that one of the guys from that her father's side comes over, brings her the crown, and basically says, I will lay my life out to protect you. I won't have no kids or anything, which is weird, but I guess that's what they're supposed to do if they're, protecting the queen or what have you. So Damien takes the crown, and he crowns her, and she's officially crowned the queen in front of them, and they all bow down, and that kind of made me really emotional. But before that, the craziness that happened when it got me really emotional was she was in labor. She was in labor, and they're all trying to help her. She does not want anybody in the room with her. She doesn't want anybody to touch her. She doesn't want anybody to help her. And you can hear the Meister, like the main doctor, say like she's not even full term for her to be giving birth like this. So she's in pain, and she's in pain. And at one point you see like the nurses, I guess the house nurses, they're all kind of looking at her, begging her like, let us help you, please let us help you. And she's bleeding and bleeding. And this part, it was so graphic. And what came next, I was not prepared for it. So you see, she was gushing at one point, and yo, when that baby came out and just like hit the ground like that, still, it took me everything to not cry. You've got to see my reaction, because it caught me off guard. Like, I was not expecting something like that. And that was like straight raw. Like, just, it was so wild to see that happen. And to just see the baby lifeless like that. Like, I was just like, man, like, if it wasn't a miscarriage, she gave birth to a stillborn baby, which means the baby was not alive while it was in her stomach, one or the other. Because oh, and then at obviously when we did see the baby, you saw the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck. So it was, I don't know, that it was just, it was so hard to watch. And I don't have kids yet, but seeing stuff like that, I'm really sensitive to. So the fact that she was so, it was almost like it took her a minute to be emotional about it. Like, almost like she knew, and she didn't want anybody to help her. She wanted to do this herself. And then you saw her like wrapping the baby herself, and then she broke down after that. Oh, man, that messed me up so bad. So bad. So bad. So then after that, when they came and they crowned her, that was the second part that had me all emotional. And when they bowed in front of her, I was like, wow, like, now she needs to go and fight for her title. Like, you know what I mean? So, and her cousin is standing there like I got your back. You know, they weren't always getting along, but still, she had her back. So now she's planning everything, and you know, they're all talking amongst each other, and then her and Damien kind of get into it in front of everybody. So she's like, "Yo, clear the room." So she's talking to her. She tells him something that the king told her and didn't tell him. And he kind of chokes her up at one point, and she's like, "Oh, you didn't know." And at that point, now I got mad all over again. Like, my emotions were all over the place with this episode. So they go on, and, you know, then all of a sudden, the cousin's husband, what's his name? Valerian, he shows up out of nowhere. Like, first of all, where were you? How'd you get back? Who brought you back? What happened? Like, I felt like that part was kind of missing, or maybe I missed something. If you guys can just let me know if I missed something. I don't know how he got back. But, you know, basically he, you know, he wasn't well, and he's walking with a cane now. So now, you know, his wife is telling him everything that's going on. Like, look, your brother's dead. King's gone. This is what's going on. And so he goes back to Rhaenyra, and he basically lets her know, like, I got your back. You know, he wasn't really too fond of her or whatever, or the fact that she was going to become queen, but now he's got hers. She has his support, and she feels good about that. So now they're all planning to go to all these different places that initially were witness to her being the queen, and now they turned their back. So now they're sending everybody out. She sends her sons off, you know, and then everybody else goes to do their own thing. So we see that the youngest son, not the youngest, but I guess the middle child, goes, and When he goes, he sees like this big old dragon. So I guess that belongs to the queen's son, right? The one that with the missing eye. So he goes in there scared, but I'm just like, go ahead, man, go. You got it. You got it, you know? So he's talking, and then all of a sudden, the guy who he's talking to, I forget his name, the house that he's at, he basically is just like, who are you gonna marry? He's like, well, I'm already accounted for. Like, I'm not marrying none of your daughters. So then the dude, his cousin with the one eye, he stops him before he leaves, and he's basically like, you know, calling him out to fight. And he was like, I'm not here as, you know, somebody to fight. I'm here as a warrior. So he wants his eye right then and there because of what he did to him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then the guy that's sitting on the throne, he's like, no, you're not gonna have any bloodshed on my floors. Like, that's not happening. So the boy leaves. He gets up and he sees that the dragon's missing. So he gets up in the air. That dragon looks vicious, looks absolutely scary, ridiculously scary. And it's like 5 times bigger than his little dragon. So of course it belongs to his cousin. So that he's chasing him in the air, and he's trying. And then at one point you see the boy's dragon. He kind of burns the other dragon, and I'm like, oh, here we freaking go. So then he disappears at one point. He's in clear skies now. The cousin is looking for him. He's basically like, you owe me a debt, and this, that, and the third. So then all of a sudden he sees it, and you see the dragon come in and literally just basically eats that little dragon and the boy. I sat there and I couldn't freaking believe what I just saw. I'm like, are you joking? There's already a war at hand now. Now, this is going to get even worse. So then Damien goes and he tells Rhaenyra, and you could see her body language. She's breaking down. Her son's there. She turns around and you can see the anger and hurt in her face. And that's where the episode ends. And I'm just like, that's it? That's where you're going to leave us on this final episode? Like, are you serious? So that was a huge cliffhanger. Huge cliffhanger. So now I'm hoping that we don't have to wait a full year for this to come back. But man, this is going to get ugly. Oh, this is going to get ugly. There is going to be so much now with what they're doing. Not only are they at war because Rhaenyra is supposed to be queen. They called the queen's her father's son king. Now there's like a king and a queen, and now they killed her son. Like, what? Okay. Now, see, she was trying to be nice. She was trying to not do anything crazy. You know, if it was up to Damien, he'd be going nuts right now. So it's like, you know, she at one point was talking about how their dragons have never been at war. So there's like, well, there's more dragons that aren't accounted for. So he's basically like, we're good. But now I think she's going to throw all that nice out the door. There is too much going on now. Too much going on. I really enjoyed this last episode. I don't like how they left us this way, but it gives us a lot to look forward to with the next season. So, yeah. Man, but this had me and my emotions all over the place. I couldn't believe it. This was probably the most emotional I've been in this season. Anyway, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys thought of the final episode of House of the Dragon Season 1. Let me know if you feel the same as I do. Go over there, check out my reaction. To those of you who are members, let me know what you guys thought. If you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel, hit like, share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified whenever I pop up on your feed. I'll see you guys later. Toodles!